let's talk about orgasm. As we enter into starting to ignite energy in the genitals and really start to work with the sexual energy, it's an exciting moment to start to look at the spectrum of orgasm. And how I like to think about that spectrum is that what most of us and what society has agreed on is understood as an orgasm is this one thing. And that one thing often looks like I'm tensing my body, I'm holding my breath, I feel a tingle in my genitals, and oh yeah, there's that tingle, and oh my God, I have to have that feeling, and we get kind of greedy for it. Do you know what I'm talking about, right? There's that moment, it's like, I gotta have it, keep moving towards it, keep moving towards it, keep moving towards it, okay, big burst, right? So good. And then there's usually relaxation after that big burst. And so what I would say is that that is one type of orgasm. Our culture would say that is the orgasm. That's it. That's all you get. But look, good news is you get more. And so our obsession and our very narrow view, believing that this is the only way to orgasm, has kept a lot of us in a holding pattern, particularly as women, from this, I've spoken about in other weeks, this kind of blossoming and unwinding of pleasure that is actually very, very natural to all of our human bodies. It's possible for men too. And so if I could think about the spectrum, we could start here and we could say this is this big explosive, and we might say this is the color red. I am making up these color matches. I want to be really clear about that. This is not an actual spectrum where that kind of orgasm ignites some kind of red, nothing. Red is just a symbol for that kind of orgasm. And then if we think about the whole color spectrum, you know, all different shades of red, orange, light orange, yellow, you know, all different shades until we come all the way through like the purples and the indigos, and then we come all the way through maybe even to white, right? And all the way on this other side, and I like to say really it's actually probably more like a circle, but for the sake of our linear minds, somewhere along on this end is something that is actually incredibly still. And the best way that I can describe my personal experience of it is it's like if this orgasm, this big explosive orgasm, is like this huge explosion, maybe we could say like a storm, then this orgasm on the other side is almost like sitting in the center of that explosion. So it's very, very quiet. It doesn't, it won't even necessarily move the external body at all. And there's a level of absorption that is incredibly powerful and pure. And here's something that's really tricky is that, and also good news, it is extended. Like it doesn't have to have a beginning and an end. And when we're in that heightened state, we are extremely sensitive to everything that's happening, so that rather than thinking, I need my lover to touch me there in that way, or I'm going to touch myself there in that way to get that thing, that orgasm, that thing that I want, that I love, that feels so damn good for that 3 seconds. Instead, we're in this space where even the sensation of our own or our lover's hand on our cheek is like an explosion of its own, because the level of sensitivity is so profound that the flavor of every movement and every touch is opening our bodies into these deeper states of consciousness. And so while I am orienting to call that a orgasmic state, something on our spectrum, we could also maybe even say that this is an awakening, because it's absolutely possible to navigate life in that state. It's absolutely possible to have a conversation in that state. It's, of course, possible to make love in that state. And the difference between we who may be lucky enough to experience that state for a few moments at a time, or maybe a few minutes at a time, and someone who's maybe fully awake and living awake all the time is simply duration, how long we can hold it. And it actually takes a terrific amount of strength, a certain kind of energetic strength and power in the body to be able to hold those states. And I got some more good news for you. Everything you are doing here through this course is creating that kind of internal strength and power to be able to hold and sustain that kind of opening, which I'm calling an orgasm, but could also be called an awakening. It's cool, huh? So what's happening in the middle here then? Well, in the middle here, I don't know, around yellow or green or something like that, is where we can start to, and this is more likely to be some of the steps that you'll feel maybe through some of the things we experience in this course, is where we start to ignite these ripples. And there's this orgasmic space where we'll feel something ignite. It'll feel different than how we've defined that it's like such a particular flavor when orgasm is about to happen in the genitals. It like has this sharpness to it. This will feel very different. It'll be more warm and expanded, and it will often roll through the body, giving the body these little bursts of energy or aliveness and waking up different parts of the body. And that can, in and of itself, feel extremely pleasurable, but can also be part of a clearing process. As we talked about, like clearing this vessel, it can, those rolls of sexual energy and vibrancy and aliveness can actually fire off movement in the body that creates more space and frees up blocks. Including, emotional things that we may never even need to identify. We're just actually using our sexual energy instead of limiting that use of that sexual energy to procreation. We're igniting it and we're using it to nourish the body, which I think is extremely exciting. So there's lots of things on this spectrum, and what I'm hoping is that you will become interested and inspired in opening to something that is beyond your limited perception of what is orgasm and what is possible in orgasm. And that, even just that shift in perception, will make space for all of these other pieces to become possibilities, whether they happen today, tomorrow, or in a few years. We cannot even touch the possibility if we don't sort of take those blinders off and say there might be more than I'm aware of.